And the art of letting go is knowing when to do that, and to do that most effectively, most productively, and most graciously. If you choose yourself, not because you're being selfish, but because you are making the choice to understand more about yourself and the decisions that you make and the outcomes you have, then the ability to take on your life and live it to the fullest.
Hello, and welcome to CEO Authors, the show where leaders share their stories, strategies, and ideas that drive success. I'm your host, Karl Taft, and today I'm excited. Mary McCorvey, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Karl. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, pleasure's ours. Serial entrepreneur,
Yes.
Gulf War veteran,
True story.
media. Thank you for your service. Media producer, broadcaster, author, stand-up comic, advocate for resilience, community builder. It's a lot.
You know, as you're reeling it off like that, Karl, I think I've been a busy person.
There's no thinking about it. Absolutely. You know, when people, certainly when I hear a list like that, it sounds amazing, full, accomplished. When you think about your journey, which part of that story feels most defining to you today?
What a great question. I think that what resonates most with me is something that over time I've seen work again and again and again for me. And it's four simple steps that are, you know, the devil's in the details and all of that,
Yeah.
right? But, you know, I conceive of an idea, and that idea could be a stand-up act, okay? It could be a company, but I conceive that idea, and then I ruminate on it. I decide that I'm going to do it, and I put my effort into it, and then I surround myself with resources to make it happen, and then I execute. So idea, decision, resources, execute. And that four-part piece right there of my life just seems to be something that I do again and again and again. And it has led to my feeling like I am a success in my life.
Fantastic. And congratulations on your new book release. Experience
you
over
very
expectations.
much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's only been on the market a couple of months. Is that right? Is my research accurate?
That's correct. It came out in September of 2025, and we're enjoying robust sales. And so if you'd like to talk about the book, I would love to talk about the book because it has a very, very unique aspect to it that any other book I've seen does not have. That might be useful for this conversation.
Fantastic. Do tell. Don't leave me hanging. Go ahead. Do you want to just go into that? I was going to ask you what the inspiration of the book was and who did you write the book for? But certainly we can take this any direction you'd like.
Well, thank you very much. I think in terms of the people who are listening to and watching this podcast, I think that what we need to understand very clearly, and we do understand it, much of it on different levels, is that artificial intelligence is here. It's here, it's now. And what I did with experience over expectation is that I wrote stories from my life, and then I asked AI, 5 different platforms, as a matter of fact, to analyze those stories. And I asked them, interestingly enough, reflecting back to what we just said, I asked AI to examine my situation, examine my decisions, and examine the outcomes. And then that is a part of the book. So it's my story and then the AI analysis of it with references of thousands and thousands of literature sources.
So what did that process teach you? You know, using AI, going through your journey, you know, putting stories together and then having, you know, almost, you know, an artificial researcher tell you what, you know, the common threads were.
It's not almost an artificial researcher. It is an artificial researcher.
I stand corrected. Yes.
No, just it's been an interesting journey on that respect. And then I'll come back to your question.
Sure.
Is that, you know, did I write the book? I've been asked that question. Did you write the book, Mary? If you had AI writing part of the book, did you write the book? And the answer is yes. I absolutely did. And it's kind of like having an editor who works with you on a book. Whether it's a copy editor or a design editor or a developmental editor, it's the same thing, except it's in my particular case, what I asked it to do was do thousands and thousands of cases and analyze those that were similar to mine, which a normal editor, a human editor can't do. So that was an interesting outcome.
Who did you write this book for?
I wrote this book for your audience. So I have my platform is LinkedIn. I also have robust social media
Hmm.
as well.
Hmm.
But I really communicate well and, really resonate well with people that are in business. I have a passion for business, and I think that that is the way that we can continue to serve in our community with jobs, with economic impact,
Hmm.
with leadership, and with service.
I see. So the book is written for, call it the leader, if you will, or business owner that's trying to develop his or her skill sets, or get a perspective as it pertains to those topics that you just mentioned, or is it something else?
Well, it's and there's that, and there's an
Hmm.
addition. So each one of the stories that I chose to tell
Hmm.
was one that I found was a challenge in my life, okay? And
Okay.
how did I overcome that challenge, or how did I face that challenge?
Hmm.
And I'll tell you something, Carl. When I was writing it, I was thinking, Mary, you made some bone dumb ideas, some decisions, right?
Right.
And you know what I found? I found that the analysis of all of the other cases most often came back with, you know what, Mary, you weren't too far off the mark. And here's why. Because people who have my particular sensibilities and decision making and so forth like that
Hmm.
tend to be happy people because they make decisions that are those that impact themselves and impact the others positively. And that was a great recognition because I thought, okay, I'm writing all of these stories about, I'll tell you a story. You want to hear a story?
Yeah, I love stories.
Okay, I'll tell you about a story that I almost made it to the moon.
Do tell. Tell me more.
Yeah, yeah. I almost made it to the moon. I decided, remember decision,
Hmm.
action, resources, execution. So the decision was I wanted to work with young people and I wanted to put their work on the moon. So I found out in 2018 that there were some companies that were actually going to the moon on a commercial basis. So I said, well, if they're going to the moon, I want to be on one of those rockets and one of those landers. And I made the decision to do that. And then I took action. I said, okay, I'm going to create a company specifically for this purpose. It's called Moonmark. And we are going to have young people create rovers, lunar rovers that are going to land on the moon and have a scientific mission. Then the next thing was I had to get the resources because guess what? I'm not a rocket scientist by any stretch of the imagination. But you know what I am? I am a person that understands how to surround myself with really smart people that have the skill sets, the experience, and the resources to do what I am intending to do. And then came execution. And so I had the rocket scientist. I had the lander company. I had the rocket. It was a SpaceX rocket, and the Lunar company is an exceptional company out of Houston called Intuitive Machines. And we worked together for a year and a half to make this program work so that when they were to land on the moon in October of 2021, that our students' work was going to be on that lander. It was awesome. It was awesome. And then guess what?
What?
The pandemic hit. The pandemic hit, and what happened was, as we well know, the supply chain shifted. The space system basically shut down. They finally got up to the moon in March. God bless them for achieving this. They've done it twice now.
Hmm.
In March of 2024. But in 2020, when I launched Moonmark, it was just not the right time to do it. And by the time the industry came back around, it was too late for my particular business model. So I didn't get to go to the moon. And I talk about that in the book and what that was like to go through that process to take a true moonshot and miss, right? Whether or not COVID came or went or whatever, it was a miss. And and I talk about that, and I talk about how difficult it was to overcome that and to go on to next.
Yeah, I like when you say that it sounds like the journey of every entrepreneur, not just
Oh, sure.
that particular deal. And I guess
Very true.
talk to that, like when I'm advising clients for instance, right, and I'm usually helping clients sell their businesses, right, and sometimes I'm helping them just plan what an exit looks like when they've only been in business for a month or two. But I
Mhm.
feel like there's value in looking at what the end looks like, right? And then being the engineer and architect to drive to that desired outcome, right? And we all
Right.
have the grace of changing our minds or the broader business climate changing, macroeconomic issues, what have you. But at least you set some intention out there and then you work towards that based on the experiences and knowledge that you have at the time.
Mhm.
Um,
Well,
you
I really I talk about this in the book called in a chapter called The Art of Letting Go. And I tell a very personal story in there, but it's very, very relevant to anyone who is in business and in the process of letting go, whether it's letting go of the business, which I've done 7 times, and I know the process very well. It comes from understanding where you are personally and how the process is affecting you and the decisions that you make. So, for example, if you have I'll tell you about my experience.
Sure.
So, I know that I am a person who works best in the startup space. My skill set is in the founder space, and I know how to conceive of an idea, resource it, execute, and do really well. Right? I know how to do that. But I also know that beyond that needs a different skill set. Okay. And so it took me a while to understand that because as I continued to try to push myself into that next stage,
Hmm.
I found that I wasn't happy in that stage. And I was not as successful in that stage as I was in the previous stage. And so that's what I mean by understanding where you are and the impact you have and where you're most successful. And the art of letting go is knowing when to do that and to do that most effectively, most productively, and most graciously.
Yeah, well said. I think you and I have a similar skill set. I find my business strengths come from taking things from a whiteboard to, the first couple of years and getting to profitability, right? Like that's where I've
Right.
thrived, for whatever reason, right? And then going
Oh,
to
I
that,
get it.
going to that, going to that next stage, I'm just like, yeah, chase another shiny object, right? Like, I like shiny objects. I'm like a cat or something.
And make it shinier.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Do you think there's a sense though, like, and maybe I misunderstood, when I was doing my research, and so if not, I'm going to blame my AI researcher because I use that a little bit. So this idea of like you said, like letting go can feel like a failure, right? But like,
Mhm.
how do you reframe that? And then maybe as a second part to that, should we be so rigid and say, no, 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 I need, X, Y, and Z, and it has to look like this? And then what happens if it doesn't go like that? Should we just be kind of like reading the tea leaves and figuring like, and going through, life and business with just kind of absorbing experiences and letting the path take us where it may? Or is there something that's more like deliberate and mindful and saying, no, no, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and this is how I'm going to do it?
Just saying doing X, Y, and Z, and this is how I'm gonna do it, it's never worked for me. It's just, I thrive in an environment that demands change.
Yeah.
And so going back to your question, is letting go failure? Can it feel like failure? Oh man, can it ever feel like failure? I mean, try to get on the moon and don't make it, right? I had a startup company and I had two different company, software development company. And I had two of the best co-founders I could have imagined. All three of us had separate complementary skill sets. And there's no reason in the world why this business should
Mhm.
not have worked. And the reason why ultimately it didn't work is because the product was too early to market. But as you're going through that process and you're taking it to marketing and you're
Yeah.
pivoting and you're trying something else and you're pivoting and then ultimately you decide, you know what? I've got to tell the investors that this is not going to go. We got to wind up the business. Heck yeah, that feels like failure. It absolutely does. On the other side of that, looking and, hindsight 2020, of course, but looking at it objectively, I can see what's happened in the marketplace since then, obviously. But I knew at the time because I took over the company and instead of letting go, I took over the company and kept going and kept going and kept going until just could not do it anymore. I just had such a commitment to the investors, which they appreciated, but they understood and they
Yeah.
had a good tax year that year.
Silver linings, silver linings.
But growing from that experience really is understanding that there were forces beyond my control. Should I have known that it was early to market? The market analysis that I had done could have told me that, I guess. But I just kept going until I said, no, I have to stop. And that felt like failure.
Any thoughts as to how to deal with that feeling of failure?
Yes. Probably the biggest tool that I use in working with that kind of emotion is understanding, number one, you have to feel it. It's a valid emotion. You have to feel, okay, this is the way I'm feeling right now. When I get some context around this, when I understand what the confluence of influences is, then I'm going to have a better perspective and more understanding perspective of this particular situation. And now, and that gives me strength and wisdom. And that's what I always, go to the great God for is strength and wisdom. Please, can I please have strength and wisdom on this particular issue? Right? And time and context brings that. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. It can be a little while longer. But those two things, one, understanding that you're a human being and that feeling is emotion and it's valid. And number two, holding on to, I'm going to understand more about this soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep moving on, keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's the catalyst for the next question here. So if someone's in a season that feels like a setback, what perspective do you wish they had or wish they would adopt or should have had earlier? Is there anything that you can talk to about that?
Well, when I'm in a situation where I feel like generally when you're in a setback, you feel like you don't have control, right?
Sure.
There are things over which you don't have control that are preventing you from moving forward. And when I'm in a situation like that, I examine what things I do have control over. I can't control that the COVID blew up the market, right? What I can control is what I can possibly do in that period of time to make progress and to be productive. And I did. I didn't get to the moon, but I did during that period of time do a lot of productive and meaningful work. And so on the other side of it, that was a major setback. But on the other side of it, I was able to say, well, you know what, Mary? You reached thousands and thousands of young people around the world, and they created designs for lunar rovers that could actually operate on the moon. Come on, that was something meaningful. It was something meaningful for them during the pandemic, and it was something meaningful for our company as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well said. Yeah. Put it in the W column. Right.
And just, when you're in that space, it's what do I have control over? And how do I use the assets I have?
Fair enough. Fair enough. How did slowing down, and maybe taking a mindset of reflection, rather than just moving forward, as I said earlier, like just charge along, right? Change the way you maybe understood your story.
I should also say that I have a real passion for motorsports. So high performance driving on racetracks.
You as the driver or just as
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it, Mary.
Absolutely.
For our
Yeah.
now do tell for our listeners what kind of motorsport, because that's
Automotive. I need 4 wheels. I don't need 2 wheels. I need 4 wheels.
Oh, I meant more like you're not hopping in an F1 car or rally car or different types of four-wheel motorsports.
Yes, but not an I do F1 racing, but it's in a sim.
Okay.
And it's awesome. It is absolutely, I mean, you come away from that, having such a respect for those drivers.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
but in my real life world, my preferred race car is a Mercedes-Benz SL 400 Roadster. That's what I love to race.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I just you got me
So the
this
go, go, go forward, I felt like I really needed to clarify that I do have that sense as well.
I got it.
However, stepping back, and whether you call it stepping back or just pausing, the power of the pause is another thing that I talk about in the book. And that is also another way to get yourself around what could be a setback is just pausing. And you don't have to figure it all out right at the right time, right at that moment in time, but the power of making the decision to pause is really one that I have found most beneficial.
And it's not just the physical act of pausing, it's the mental, almost
Oh, yes.
spiritual act of just being like
And if you can do both of them
yeah,
together,
yeah,
golden.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Yeah, that was really, I mean, you answered almost my next question as to like what you would want readers to take away from the book, right? And that idea of like just slow down, take a
Yes.
moment,
Well, the other thing
reassess.
that I'd
Yeah,
like to take away from the book is
please.
that there is, we grow up with a grand plan. The grand plan is you become an adult, you go to college, you get the degree, you marry well, you have kids, more career,
Right.
retire, and legacy if you're lucky. And that grand plan doesn't have to hem you in. You can live on your own terms. And that's what the second part of the title of the book is. It's experience over expectation. Let go of the plan and live on your terms. And you will find that if you can take yourself out of that cycle that we grow up with,
Mhm.
that culture reinforces
Mhm.
that expectation of us,
Mhm.
and we have that of ourselves. If you can step out of that, then you are going full bore. I'm telling you, you have such an ability to take on your life and make the most of it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just sitting with that for a little bit. I think I heard you on another podcast talking about something about that. Finite heartbeats, infinite possibilities, I think was the discussion.
Yes, that's my mantra.
Yeah,
And infinite possibilities means that you can do anything you want, of course, or you can attempt to do anything you want.
sure.
But it's the choices that you make with those finite heartbeats. The choices that you make with those lead you to the possibilities that are richest and that have the most positive impact on yourself and other people.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I personally look for that. I'm sure our listeners look for that. The infinite possibilities. How does one go about maybe understanding the heading in which they should direct their attention towards? Is it in the process of being quiet? Is it something else? What do what do you suggest, or what have you experienced as being, useful?
I have a dear friend who, when he goes on corporate retreats,
Mhm.
he goes for long walks. He doesn't even go to the sessions. He goes for long walks, right?
Okay.
So that is his way of reflecting and his way of understanding, and his way of making decisions that are right for him. And then there are other people. It depends on what really is right for you. You've got infinite possibilities, but what's right for you? And it takes reflection to figure out what's right for you. Going back to, I had conceive of an idea,
Mhm.
I ponder on it,
Mhm.
and it takes a decision on your part. You need to surround yourself with resources and people,
Mhm.
and then you need to act. And you can do that within the space of a Christmas dinner or a New Year's Eve. And you can have a wonderful, wonderful holiday with that kind of choosing of possibilities in any given moment.
Fantastic. Well, this has been great. So I want to give you the opportunity, and I think you've touched on this, but I think there's value in maybe reiterating it, right? So if readers walk away with one idea from experience over expectation, what do you hope that is?
Well, I know it's that if you really choose yourself,
Hmm.
not because you're being selfish, but because you are making the choice to understand more about yourself and the decisions that you make and the outcomes you have, then you really have the ability to really take on your life and live it to the fullest.
Thank you for that. It's great.
You're welcome. Thank you.
As part of our show, Mary, every show we have what we call the special guest question round. So now it's time for our special guest open mic question, right? This is where you'll answer a question left by our previous guest, and then you'll get a chance to leave a question for our next mystery guest. And I call them mystery guests because we don't tell you who they are.
Sure.
Um, what is the one thing right now that you could do to make any environment in your life more inclusive?
More inclusive. What could I do to make it more inclusive? Oh my gosh, that is a really, really tough question for me because
Tough question for me as well.
yes,
So I-
when you live a blessed life, I can always use more loving relationships, and that I would feel great about including in my life. And then what is my question?
what? Yes. So, what question would you like to pass along to our next mystery guest? Yes.
Okay, I'll ask this. Everyone has a requirement to let go of something. What will you let go of?
That's great. I will get that's our new gotcha statement for the next guest. If our listeners want to learn more about your work, you, and how to find you, how do they go about doing that?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, and also I have a website, marymccorvey.com, and I'm on YouTube as well, Mary McCorvey, and I'm also on the other social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook and so forth.
Perfect.
But marymccorvey.com is the way to find out more about me, and I look forward to meeting whoever this sends my way.
Great. Mary, thanks for being with us today. Really enjoyed the conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you, Karl.
Thanks. And thank you all to our listeners for joining in. Tune in next time.